RV sales are down over 50% as the industry spirals to its impending doom. That's what the headlines say, but in reality, the story is much more nuanced than that. And believe it or not, things are actually going a bit better than predicted. I'm Jason Epperson, this is RV Miles, and it's time for a special RV industry update so you can make good decisions about when to buy or sell your RV. First, let's look at where we are. Through July, RV shipments, the number of RVs produced by RV manufacturers and delivered to dealers, are down 47.7% over the same period in 2022, which, by the way, was the best period on record. But did interest in RVs really drop by 50%? In a word, no. RV shipments are not the same thing as RV sales. There were 40,964 retail registrations of new RVs, actual sales, recorded in June, which was the last month data is available for, from Statistical Surveys, a company that tracks this kind of stuff. That's only a 21.5% decrease compared to the same month last year. Still a big drop, but nowhere near 50%. Through the end of June, it's about a 24% drop year over year. And for 4 months in a row, sales outpaced production as the industry corrects what many now see as a big mistake, a dramatic overproduction. Remember back when the pandemic hit in 2020, RV sales were actually trending a bit down. 2017 had been the previous record year for production, the first to hit over 500,000 RVs built. 2019 was off 20% from that high, and 2020 was looking like it would drop even more. And that was before most of us even heard of COVID-19. The pandemic, when it hit, was spelling disaster for the industry. In March and April of 2020, many manufacturers cut production as dealers canceled inventory orders. After all, the economy was plunging into a recession. States were implementing restrictions on travel, and it seemed like nobody would want to go anywhere anyway, with so many businesses closed for at least in-person visits across the country. But quickly, the end of international travel had people looking for more travel opportunities in the US, and the outdoors became the pandemic-friendly way to escape. A boom in work from home turned into work from anywhere. That recession would be the shortest recession in US history at only 2 months, and $13 trillion in new money flowed from the federal government into various forms of COVID relief. We would later pay for that in the form of inflation, but in the short term, stimulus checks made handy down payments on RV loans with very low interest rates. But there was a problem. The RV industry couldn't produce RVs to meet that demand. There was a huge backlog in raw materials and components. That 2-month period of canceled RV orders meant canceling shipments of water heaters and plywood and windows and microwave ovens. Meanwhile, dealer lots were being emptied. More in a moment, but first, this video is sponsored by Blue Ox. Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox has been designing and manufacturing some of the best towing products in the industry. Blue Ox is everywhere. Highways, campgrounds, anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. You probably know Blue Ox produces award-winning tow bars and base plates. They're the go-to brand for anyone that wants to tow a car behind their motorhome. But did you also know they have a full line of premium weight distribution hitches and a new lineup of fifth wheel hitches? With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. To learn more about how Blue Ox can make your travel adventures even more stress-free, visit blueox.com. A link's in the description. Thanks to Blue Ox for supporting our channel and to you for supporting our sponsors. By mid-2021, most of those supply chain issues resolved, and the industry was off to the races. And by the end of the year, the RV industry had produced 600,000 units, 95,000 more than the previous record in 2017. And the buying spree was only continuing. More RVs would be sold in 2021 than any other year, by a long shot. But for the first time since probably the 2008 and 2009 crash, far more RVs were being produced than sold, about 33,000 more. That was necessary in order to get some RVs back on dealer lots. After all, in 2020, 93,000 more RVs were sold than were built. Contrary to popular belief, dealers thrive on full lots. A full lot doesn't mean something bad for the industry. Most people still buy by showing up at a dealership, walking around, and picking something out. Dealer stock is the way RVs are sold. 2021 and 2022 surpluses in production amounted to about 80,000 units, which mostly filled those lots back up. But the industry's historical build, sell, restock cycle had been disrupted. Most of those surplus RVs were 2022 models, and a growing distrust of those models began to build among buyers. In fact, dealers were saying it themselves. Some of this stuff was built terribly. And it's not like the RV industry already had a great reputation for quality. Combine that with the fact that the higher end manufacturers weren't able to expand production as quickly, more lower end 2022 stuff was sitting on lots. And it still is. Now, it's not as simple as X number of RVs available on X lots for X dollars. If someone's going to pay top dollar for these really inflated MSRPs and high interest rates, well, they want the latest model. Dealers are getting 2024 units on lots now. And even though there's all this other new inventory, buyers want the latest and greatest. And to top it off, RV manufacturers are finally doing a bit of innovating again. There weren't a lot of new floor plans and interiors in the last couple of years, but take a look at 2024 stuff and you'll find lots of it. And people are still buying. This year, there will be a big deficit in RV production again. The industry will be 61,000 units short of demand if the sales numbers stay on the current trend. And that's likely why the RV Industry Association has just released its projection for 2024 shipments, predicting about a 23% increase in production next year over this. I think the bottom line takeaway, though, is that there was a boom, and that boom had some external pressures. And now we've returned to the lull in RV sales that we should have had back in 2020. So what does that mean for you? Well, if you're planning to buy an RV, dealers have largely returned to the typical 20 to 30% off discounts from MSRP. It also means that manufacturers are introducing some incentives again. Those MSRPs are still inflated, but the industry knows that and is trying to do some things to bring them down. Now, primarily that means removing features from models. As our friend Josh the RV Nerd Winters will tell you over on his channel, you're seeing fewer ovens on the lots this year, and propane fridges are pretty much gone. A lot of people think a compressor fridge is an upgrade over a propane absorption fridge, but you should price them sometime. Still, I do think you're seeing brands competing with each other again, instead of just rushing out to build as many units as possible. And that's going to only be good for the consumer. Josh, by the way, had this shirt made. He's trying to make this happen. Don't indulge him. If you want a really good deal on a new unit, now might be a time to look at those 2022 model year units that dealers are trying to get rid of as the new 2024s begin to arrive on their lots. They really aren't that much different than the 2024 stuff, and in fact, some actually have more features, not less. Are you opening yourself up to getting a lemon? Maybe, but I think you can mitigate that by getting an independent inspection from a qualified NRVIA certified inspector, which I think you should always do anyway. And if you're looking to buy used, I think post-camping season this year is going to be the best time to buy a used RV in a while. Still not as good as it was pre-pandemic, but the used RV market works pretty much in lockstep with the new market in normal years. A lot of people were hoping that the disruption of booming sales would lead to an eventual swing into cheap and plentiful used RVs. I just don't foresee that happening anymore. As I said right here on this channel almost exactly 3 years ago, don't count on a glut of used RVs unless the stock market tanks. I don't mean any other part of the economy, specifically the S&P 500. RV sales have traditionally rode right along with the S&P 500. It's a good way to look at what people's investments look like, and RVs are a luxury item. And when people have more money, they spend more money. Even if there is a big stock market dive, I'm not totally sold that most people will sell off. Most are underwater on their loans, and this idea that most of these people would hate RV ownership because it's too hard just didn't seem to pan out. Regardless, in order for the used RV market to bust, it would first have to return to normal. And I think we're only just now seeing the beginning of a return to normal for used RV sales. You have to look at the entire marketplace, and if new RVs are expensive, so are used RVs. If there are these 2022 new units on the lot that people can afford, they're not going to spend the same amount of money for a used unit from the same time period. Whether you're buying or selling, at this point, I don't see a huge advantage of waiting. Prices and markets will go up and down from here forward, but barring some sort of major COVID level event, the major swings are probably over. I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for being here. And if you like what we do, maybe share this video with a friend or in a Facebook group or in a thread or an X or whatever we call tweets now. I have no idea. See you next time. Camp Daddy.